This is WIN News.
Tonight, dramatic scenes as much of Gippsland is left in the dark. The Morwell clean-up finally underway. And research reveals the cost of internal parasites affecting cows. Good evening, I'm Bruce Roberts. Also tonight, a showdown under lights to mark the return of Gippsland football. Power has been restored to 80,000 homes and businesses across Gippsland after an electrical fault at an SP AusNet substation. Fallen power lines sparked a flashover, cutting electricity to much of the region and causing widespread chaos.
Amateur vision captured the moment power lines at the substation put on a spectacular show. Christian Dawes was having breakfast when he saw the first colourful flashes.
It was kind of like a massive arc, like someone was welding or something. So yeah, but really intense and big.
Nearby workers say it could be heard before anything was seen.
We just felt this big vibration and this humming noise. Well, I was in Bobcat in the container up there, and you could hear it through that over the noise of the machines.
And there was just flashes of light go boom, 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 boom.
Preparing for the worst, Morwell resident and mother Catherine Crean thought it was an explosion.
That was my thing, explosion, and how far can it get, how quick, and do we have time to leave, and just didn't know what it was.
The line may have broken, or there may have been a flashover. This has given rise to a fault, and you get a massive release of energy.
Originating at SP AusNet's Morwell substation, the fault left 80,000 homes and businesses across Gippsland with no power. Some businesses were forced to close their doors. Others continued working in darkness.
Normally we have our bases done before we open shop for lunch, and we normally have a machine to do most of the rolling of the pastry, but I had to do it all by hand.
There was chaos on the roads. 12 intersections were out in Morwell, with several others down across the region.
Together with a number of intersections in other parts of Latrobe Valley, we were pretty stretched for resources.
The only damage reported was to electrical systems at the Morwell Police Complex.
Mainly to do with security and our custody securities.
Power has since been restored to the 80,000 households and businesses. However, an investigation is underway to determine exactly what caused the power lines to collapse.
We started investigating it at about 10 o'clock this morning, so people are already working on that, and we'd expect to get the results over the weekend or early next week.
Alexandria Zadzimarkis, WIN News.
The Hazelwood mine fire inquiry will hold its first community consultation next week. 7 sessions will be held in all, 4 in Morwell and 1 each in Moe, Churchill and Tarrogin. The first of the community consultations will be held at Kernot Hall in Morwell next Thursday from 12:30. The sessions will continue through until April 16. Written submissions are also invited via the inquiry's website. Latrobe City Council has defended the time it's taken to start the assisted clean-up of houses in Morwell. Just 37 of 500 homes so far registered have been cleaned.
Latrobe City Council this afternoon opened the doors to its new Community Information and Recovery Centre.
It's a one-stop shop.
The building is also home to the Secretariat of the Hazelwood Mine Fire Inquiry. The council made no apologies for the delays in getting the assisted clean-up of houses underway.
You had to make sure they had police checks, that they were able to do the professional cleans properly. We also wanted to source as many of these contractors from the local area.
You're right, the beginning of it has been quite slow. We now have just over 500 people registered for an assisted clean, with 37 of those having been completed.
Latrobe City insists the clean-up is now in full swing.
By next week we're anticipating that we will ramp up to about 45 a day, and we'll extend the process out to include Saturday and Sunday.
The state opposition wants the eligibility criteria reviewed.
Home and community care clients, people who received a relocation grant, and the third criteria, which is the one that involves a little bit more decision making, is around people that are frail or aged but not currently accessing home and community care.
The government needs to review the level of assistance.
It is the Latrobe Shire which is delivering the program.
Brooke Van Newton, WIN News.
Fireballs and flashes. Gippsland plunged into darkness after a clashing of power lines.
Burned our eyes a bit. That's how bright it was.
Good evening, Lisa Maximovic with ABC News. A spectacular power line failure in Morwell's electricity terminal has triggered a series of lightning-like flashes across the sky, cutting power to 80,000 Gippsland properties. Provider SP AusNet says electricity has now been restored to all but a few. Unions say poor maintenance is to blame. The company is investigating. James Bennett reports.
David Bates and Christian Dawes were having breakfast when Morwell's skyline lit up.
It was like a big string of fire along the power lines, and they'd hit one of the big boxes and then they'd explode.
It's a surreal thing.
The fireballs and flashes were clearly visible kilometres away.
Burned our eyes a bit. That's how bright it was.
All documented by townspeople battling to return to normal after Morwell's recent month-long mine fire.
When they finally do get back, there's the smoke problem, and now there's a power outage because of yet another problem.
80,000 properties from Warragul to Malakuta in the state's far east lost power. By mid-morning, all but 90-odd were back on, but the community wanted answers. An SP AusNet spokesman initially told the ABC flashovers, as they're known, are common. But that changed mid-afternoon.
These are very, very rare events. I can't think of the last one that's happened here.
A flashover is the same electrical phenomenon as a light bulb blowing, just on a much larger scale. When high-voltage conductors like power lines get too close to each other, and if they aren't insulated properly, huge volumes of electricity can jump between them, causing the intense lightning-like flashes.
If it's windy, if there's water involved, or if the power lines themselves come down and manage to touch the ground, is when this arc could occur.
Black Saturday victims are already suing SP AusNet in Victoria's biggest class action, alleging shoddy maintenance sparked the deadly Kilmore blaze 5 years ago. Unions think poor upkeep caused this failure too.
We're looking into this incident as quickly as we can.
The Weather Bureau says there were no electrical storms, wind or rain at the time. James Bennett, ABC News.
Explosions rock a Morwell substation, leaving thousands without power. Explosions at a substation have rocked Morwell, leaving 80,000 homes and businesses in Gippsland without electricity. The power company doesn't know what caused the fault, but insists it's not linked to the Hazelwood mine blaze. Laura Spurway with the details.
The morning sky lit by a series of fireballs.
What we saw and heard this morning, it was like a big bomb.
Morwell resident Thea Kelly was inside her home when she heard the blasts about 7:30 a.m.
Yeah, I ran inside and turned up all the power inside. I was scared and I thought it was just going to explode.
The sounds and sparks echoed through the town, drivers getting a front row seat to the power surge.
The noise was horrendous, and when I stepped outside, these I suppose you'd call them explosions, flares, arcing, whatever. They were very intense.
A 66,000 volt power line near the town's substation collapsed onto another line and caused a flashover, similar to a lightning strike.
This has given rise to a fault and you get a massive release of energy.
That fault blacked out more than 80,000 homes this morning, spanning from Warragul to as far as Malakuta.
These are very, very rare events. To lose 80,000 customers, we recognise is a huge inconvenience.
Friday's the busiest day of the week and we can't even open the doors.
Can I pay my bill? Nothing. Oh, wow. That's no good at all.
This is disappointing for the people of Morwell.
No one was injured and power has been restored, but it was a scare for a town that suffered through weeks of smoke and fumes from the Hazelwood coal mine fire.
Poor old Morwell, we've just had the mine fire, which is still smoking, only a kilometre away from where this occurred.
Initially it was feared the flashover was linked to the Hazelwood mine fire. The mine is actually behind me, but the power company says there's no connection and the fault actually started here at the substation.
We pride ourselves in keeping the lights on. What I'm proud about is the way that we've been able to get supplies back on so quickly.
We're just lucky enough that being a brigade that works in the power industries and with the power industries, they all had an understanding of what the dangers were.
In Morwell, Laura Spurway, 9 News.
Spectacular explosions cut power to tens of thousands of homes.
Around 80,000 Gippsland homes were blacked out this morning when falling high-voltage power lines sparked a series of spectacular explosions near Morwell. It caused some anxious moments for locals still shaken by the recent Hazelwood mine fire.
With a massive flash of blinding light, a string of explosions blasted more than 60,000 volts of electricity into the sky. Power lines flared, lighting up plumes of smoke. The high voltage surges lasted about 90 seconds. 20-year-old Adam Field was driving to work. As he approached the Morwell substation, he was confronted with this.
It's crazy. I've seen sort of similar stuff on the internet and stuff like that, but never like that in real life.
He quickly stopped on the side of the road and filmed the eruption.
Almost looked like it was being bombed because of just the sort of sequential explosions.
It was sparked by a fallen high-voltage power line. Fire crews rushed to the power station after dozens of 000 calls reported a large fire.
The police received a lot of 000 calls as well, so we dispatched all those appliances to those calls.
It could be seen from across Morwell, but the impact spread much further. Power was cut to 80,000 homes and businesses. Rain this afternoon has given some comfort to Morwell residents who feared the explosions could start a fire. The town is still recovering from the blaze at the nearby Hazelwood coal mine, which burned for weeks.
After the month or so, or the month and a half we've had, yeah, I'm sure everyone was a bit on edge.
Power supplier SP AusNet has labelled the event a flashover.
While it looked traumatic and it would have been frightening to have seen, I don't believe that anybody was in actual danger at that time.
SP AusNet is still investigating the cause of the eruption, which had Morwell on edge once again. Melina Saris, 7 News.
Tonight, high voltage havoc. More pain for Morwell as explosions cut power to thousands. A grieving husband pays tribute to his wife, taken in a horrifying shark attack.
Chris only knew one way in life, and that was love. And everyone loved her.
Mid-air scare. Passengers left shaken as their Qantas jet makes an emergency landing.
It's just more nerve-wracking than anything to see all fire trucks and everything come out.
And he's back. A notorious serial pest causes chaos at a corruption hearing.
This is 10 Eyewitness News with Stephen Quartermain.
Good evening. First tonight, the blasts that rock Morwell. Gippsland has been hit by widespread blackouts with power cut to tens of thousands after a high-voltage line collapse. It's yet another blow for a community still recovering from weeks of mine fire misery. Michael Bennett has the story.
The explosions and electrical fires rocked Morwell just before 7:30 this morning, captured on phone cameras by stunned locals. High-voltage power lines snapping and falling onto the local substation set off the blast, sending balls of flames shooting into the air. Christian Dawes videoed the spreading fire 200 metres away from a moving car.
The lines like melting and coming down, and it kind of like went from one pylon or whatever they call to a different one, like kind of travelled along.
Lines were sparking and arcing out, and the boxes were exploding.
I heard this big bang, just like as though something was exploding, and then all of a sudden the power was off.
CFA crews were first on scene, responding to reports of fires in the area.
There was a lot of loud explosions, looked like lightning occurred. There was some smoke.
Half a kilometre of power line fell, taking out electricity across the length and breadth of Gippsland, from Leongatha and Warragul to Malakuta and KANE River.
It affected 80,000 customers, and for that we're sorry. We recognise the inconvenience it causes.
For most, electricity was back online by midday, although some homes have just had power restored.
The line may have broken, or there may have been a flashover. This has given rise to a fault, and you get a massive release of energy.
Initial fears were that the electrical explosions may have been caused by the Hazelwood mine fire, but authorities quickly ruled that out, saying the two events are unrelated. But locals are feeling shell-shocked. For weeks, the area has been shrouded in smoke from the mine fire. They say they just want their run of bad luck to end.
We're due for something nice to happen.
Authorities have now launched an investigation into what caused the power line to fall. Michael Bennett, 10 Eyewitness News.